Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron. Instant match reaction, Leicester City 2, Everton 2 at the King Power Stadium tonight. Firstly, what a horrible game of football that was, to watch for us Evertonians. It was heart in the mouth stuff for pretty much 90 minutes. Everton going ahead and, starting the game off really, really well with a brilliant, first 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe even, and then Leicester City getting back into it. Another silly defensive mistake. Leicester City then going 2-1 up in the game. Again, another woeful mistake, another woeful individual mistake, another lazy bit of play by Alex Iwobi, similar to the one that, he did against Nottingham Forest not so long ago, which led to us dropping points in that game. It could have easily been 3-1 up for Leicester going into half-time. They receiving a penalty just before the break, and obviously Jordan Pickford standing strong and confidently standing in the middle of his goal to deny James Maddison. Everton then coming out in the second half and starting that in the same manner in which they started the first half, getting back into the game quickly, being the better team, the team on top, and then after that, it was absolutely terrifying to watch for the remainder of that second half. Chances for both sides. Leicester City hitting the bar at one point. Leicester City having a chance off the line. Everton having a couple of opportunities. Leicester's goalkeeper Iverson has probably just played the best game of football he will ever play in his career. An absolutely outstanding performance. But ultimately, not enough. And listen, I know some people will be sitting here thinking positively about that game. I know some people will be sitting here thinking it's another point away from home. We could have been 3-1 down at half time and we ended up getting something out of the game. We were unlucky, we deserved to win, etc, etc, etc. The reality of the situation is that we didn't win this game of football and we needed to win this game of football. Sky Sports shown a graphic when we were 1-0 up of what it meant to the Premier League table, and Everton looked so much better, in such a better position, with a win tonight, of course, taking us out of the relegation zone, but taking us above all of those teams that are in and around us and putting us really in the best position, which obviously would have breeded confidence and obviously would have looked brilliant, for us as fans to look at going into the next couple of games and for the players to take confidence from. And, when Leicester City went on top, they showed another graphic, and obviously it looked horrific. And then when Everton pulled it back, they showed us the same graphic, a similar graphic, and again it didn't look particularly great for Everton. Everton still in the relegation zone. Leicester, of course, I think that point was significantly better for Leicester than it was for Everton, and we knew that going into this game. We knew going into this game that a point was never, ever, ever going to be enough. We knew going into this game that Everton simply had to win this one. And I made a point yesterday in our game preview of talking about bravery and talking about the need for the manager to be a little bit brave in this game, because we knew we'd get opportunities. Leicester City are a team that do concede goals. Leicester City are a team that do, leak chances, do leak opportunities. So we knew that we'd get those chances. We knew that, if you go in front against Leicester and you pin them back and you put pressure on them, they can crumble and they can fold. And in that first 20 minutes, they were absolutely all over the place, and Everton were much the better team. And yes, individual mistakes happened, which is ultimately, I was going to say you can't put it down to the manager, but you can put it down to the manager because these individual mistakes are being made by players that shouldn't be anywhere near the pitch. For me, Sean Dyche isn't good enough. I'll be brutally honest with you. Whether we'd have won this game, whether we'd have drawn this game, whether we'd have lost this game, I'll be honest with you, he's not good enough. He's not good enough to be the Everton manager, and if he was sacked tonight, I wouldn't care. I simply would not care, because he isn't good enough. And he's shown today that, A, his persistence to start players like Michael Keane in this team, when in reality Michael Keane has no right to be in this side. Now, I don't care whether it's Yerry Mina, I don't care whether it's Connor Cody. The reality of the situation is both of those players I've just mentioned are much, much better defenders and much more reliable than what Michael Keane is. Michael Keane had a shocker today. He was absolutely all over the place. Jamie Vardy had him running rings around him all day. But yet, the manager still persists with him. Why? Because he's his mate and he likes him, and he managed him previously at Burnley a few years ago. There's no reason Michael Keane should be playing in this Everton side. No reason. Barring the fact that Sean Dyche gets on with him and knows him more than he knows Yerry Mina and knows him more than he knows Conor Cody. It's as simple as that. But also, as I've just said, I almost knew that Everton were going to have to be brave today. I almost knew that there was going to be a period in this game where we were the team on top and we needed to go for it a little bit. And that was in that last 20, 25 minutes of the second half. And one of those sides who is fighting to stay up made a couple of positive attacking changes, brought a couple of forwards on and, didn't end up winning the game of football. Unfortunate for them. The other side was happy to sit back and to take a point and to not lose what was a must-win game. I'm sick of hearing people say, it's a must-not lose, it's a must-not lose. Nonsense. Absolute bollocks. This game today was a must-win. We needed to win tonight. And the opportunities were there to win. I feel similar tonight as to what I felt after the Nottingham Forest game. A missed opportunity. Now, okay, the Nottingham Forest game was different because we were ahead twice in that game, whereas that wasn't the case today. But had Everton have been a little bit braver, had the manager have been a little bit braver, maybe put a Damari Gray on with 20 minutes to go, fresh legs to run at that Leicester defence. And I'm, as you all know, I'm not a massive fan of Damari Gray, and I've sat and criticised him numerous times before. And I appreciate people saying, well, Cam, you're acting like Damari Gray's the saviour and this, that, and that. I'm not. All as I'm saying is he'd have had a bit of fresh legs to run at players. Maybe bringing Onana on in the midfield to run around and to pull himself about. Maybe bringing Ellis Sims on to give Dominic Calvert-Lewin a bit of support with that big physical presence. Dyche didn't make a single substitute. Not a single one. He made one substitute all afternoon and it was forced through an injury to Seamus Coleman. And of course we wish Seamus Coleman a very speedy recovery. And, again, touch wood, we see Seamus in an Everton shirt again because it looked like a really, really, really horrific injury. And at this stage in his career, they aren't necessarily the best to see. So, not that any injury is, but it's, one that I don't want to, I don't want to discuss what could or couldn't happen in the future, but let's just wish Seamus Coleman a very speedy recovery. But my point is that the manager didn't want to win that game today. Clearly, he didn't want to win that game today. And everybody in the stadium knew that game was a must-win for both sides. A point is much better for Leicester City. Leicester will probably be looking at that thinking, do you know what, a point isn't bad there. Point isn't the case for Everton. Point today was similar to when Southampton got a point against Arsenal. It's very much, a useless entity. We needed more. We needed 3. And it was another game that we could have gone and we could have won today with a bit more bravery. And okay, yeah, again, Damari Gray isn't the best player in the world and Ellis Sims is a young kid. And, I'm not saying that we would have guaranteed to have won that game by making those changes. But you cannot tell me that taking Alex Iwobi off with 20 minutes to go would have made any difference in that game. Okay, Alex Iwobi got the equaliser and he made amends for what was an awful mistake in the first half, but he was pretty much irrelevant for the last 20 minutes. He was shattered. Dwight McNeil worked hard, put himself about, but looked shattered for that last 20 minutes. James Garner was absolutely dreadful for that last 20 minutes. There was chances, there was opportunities to make changes for the manager, to make positive changes, and the manager showed today that he simply does not have the bravery to see this through, in my opinion. He doesn't. And if Everton are to stay up this season, once again, I'll say it, as I said, after the Newcastle game, it will be, with a pure miracle, but it didn't need to be with a pure miracle. Didn't need to be. We all sat here after Newcastle and we all pretty much said, that's it, we're gone, we're down, this team has got nothing, this squad has got nothing. And of course, a point is better than a defeat, but we sat here with 20 minutes to go, having watched every other team in and around us lose games of football this weekend, Forest, Leeds United, Southampton, etc. And we could have gone and won that game. We could have gone for it. Now, there is no defence for Sean Dyche. No defence. No defence. It's not like I'm saying take a centre-back off and put another attacker on, and then you could say, well, what if we got counter-attacked and we ended up losing the game? No. Taking Iwobi off, or James Garner, or, I don't know, even McNeil, and putting on a bit of fresh legs up front wouldn't have had no impact on the outcome of that game, other than it may have given us a better chance of winning it. And the manager didn't have the bravery to do it. To not make an attacking sub in that last 20 minutes, to not make a single sub other than the one that was forced, due to Seamus Coleman's injury, to me is just horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And you add that to the persistence to play centre-backs that very clearly aren't anywhere near as good as the centre-back that we've got sat on the bench, just because he's his friend and he likes him and he managed them previously. It's baffling management. It's woeful management, and nobody can disagree with me. You cannot sit here and believe that Sean Dyche has managed this situation perfectly over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, because he hasn't. He's been dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Michael Keane was abysmal today. Now, okay, Iwobi redeemed himself by scoring the goal in the second half, which was a great goal. And all right, again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin missed an open goal, which was an absolute sitter, which was one that, every striker in the world, regardless of what level you play at, should be able to score. Takore had one saved, as I said. Leicester's goalkeeper, Iverson, had an absolute outstanding, game. But Leicester fans will be saying, we had one off the bar, we had a penalty missed, we had one off the line, etc., etc. Both teams had chances there to win that game, but only one team showed the bravery to try and go out and win it, and that wasn't Everton. And as I said, players like Michael Keane, who again, week in, week out now, are proving that they are no better than they were 2 or 3 years ago when it was deemed they weren't good enough to play for Everton, still being chosen in this side. Why? Because the manager has got a previous relationship with them. The manager believes in them. Well, it's quite evident today that he isn't good enough. But will that change? Will the manager bring in Conor Cody or, Yerry Mina for Brighton? No, he won't. He'll persist with Michael Keane again. I just think it's really, really poor management. And, I just look at it and I think it's very simple. If Sean Dyche wants to keep Everton up, then we needed to win that game. And both sets of players knew that was a must-win game as well. Both sets of fans did, because you could hear the support, certainly from the away section, and you could sort of feel the nerves in the home section. But both sets of players knew how important that game was to win, because you could see it in the game. It was absolute end-to-end for the last 20, 25 minutes. It was horrifying. It was absolutely, me heart has been in me mouth for the last half an hour. It was horrific to watch. We had the chance, then they had the chance, then they had the cross that was dealt with, then we had the cross that was dealt with. Both sets of players knew the importance of that game, and I actually feel a little bit sorry for the Everton players today. I feel a little bit sorry for Dwight McNeil. I feel a little bit sorry for, Alex Iwobi in that second half. I feel a little bit sorry for them, because they're almost looking around as if to say, we need a bit of an hand here. We're running our asses off. We can't give much more. We need somebody to come on and add a little bit of fresh pace. Somebody to come on and, take a running on or give a little bit more than we can, because we've done it for 60, 70 minutes. I don't think it was through a lack of effort today. I think it was through a lack of good management by the manager, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I really, really, really do. And don't get me wrong, the first half, as I said, when we conceded that first goal, the first half was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous from that point on. Players' heads dropped. Once again, individual mistakes, players not concentrating. There's a real lack of footballing IQ within this team. A real lack of footballing IQ. And there's a real lack of ideas, and the ideas come from the coaching staff and the manager. And you could see that. Again, the frustrating thing is that was a must-win game. Whether we like it or not, it was a must-win game that was there for the taking. Exactly like Nottingham Forest was a must-win game that was there for the taking. And we've not managed to win either of them. Now, if we go to Brighton next week and get a point or more, then obviously this game becomes a little bit less important. But, look at what a win would have done to us in terms of the Premier League table today. It would have been huge. It would have been huge to win this game. And we didn't. And as I said, I don't think that's on the players. I think that's on a lack of bravery from the manager. And if the manager isn't going to have the bravery in a game like that against a fellow relegation rival, had we have won today, that would have meant everybody that is likely to go down. Because let's be honest, teams like West Ham, Wolves, they're all out of it. The teams that are in the race at the moment are Southampton, Leicester, Leeds and Everton. That's 4 teams for 3 places. Only one of those teams will stay up. Sorry, hang on. Southampton, Leeds, Leicester, Everton, Forest. Five teams for 3 places. 2 of those teams will stay up. Every one of those teams dropped points this weekend, barring Leicester, and we could have taken the opportunity to be not only the only team out of that group that wins, but to make Leicester also drop points in that game as well. Mad Hatter James has donated £5. Says, why was there no subs? McNeil, man of the match for me. Yeah, I thought McNeil worked his arse off, to be honest with you. I had no real problem with Dwight McNeil. I thought he worked hard, battled, put himself about. And in that second half, he made a couple of individual runs with the ball in the last 5-10 minutes that just took the pressure off the situation. But if you aren't going to be brave in that situation when you have an opportunity to take points off not only a relegation rival, but to mean that you are the only team out of those relegation rivals that wins in that weekend, then when are you going to be brave? Is he going to be brave at Brighton next week when Forest might win, or in that game week, and Leicester might win in that game week, and Leeds might win in that game week? Is he going to be brave then? Is he going to be brave against Man City at home? I doubt it. Is he going to be brave against Wolves away? Again, I doubt it. And this is me worry. By the way, I'm not sitting here screaming and shouting to sack him and get rid of him, because I know people are like, oh, well, who comes in? Cam, who do we bring in? Baines, isn't this? This, that and the other. Who do we go out and get at this stage in the season? All as I'm saying is he's not good enough. And it is almost an acceptance from me that the inevitable is going to happen when I can sit here and say, I know the manager isn't good enough. I know the manager isn't brave enough. I know the manager isn't up to this. But I don't necessarily want him sacked, because what's the alternative? It just... yeah. And I know a couple of people in the comments are saying it's a point away from home. It's a decent point away from home on the 1st of May when you are 19th in the Premier League table and you are playing a fellow relegation rival and the game is there to be won. Isn't a good point. I don't care what anybody says. It's not a good point. It's not a good point at all. Because you look at our next 4-5 games, however many games we've got to go. Where's the winnable game out of that? What game? Tell me now honestly in the comments. What game out of those games is more winnable than that was tonight? And yes, I'm fully aware that it could have gone the other way. Leicester could have been 3-1 up at half-time and it would have been game over. Leicester could have been, 4-1 up there at the bar, again, before we even scored the equaliser. Also, it could have been 2-2 because Dominic Calvert-Lewin missed a chance that is an absolutely atrocious miss. An atrocious miss. People saying Wolves. So Wolves is going to be more winnable than that. Bournemouth, who have just absolutely bladdered Leeds yesterday, that's more winnable? No, not a chance. Plus Bournemouth's on the last day of the season. So, it could be all done and dusted by then. It's not a good point. It's not enough. It's as simple as that. It's not enough at this stage in the season. It's not enough. And yes, it was a horrible game, and yes, it could have gone either way, and yes, could have been 3-1 at half time. So we understand people saying a point isn't the worst outcome given the way the game went, with Leicester having the chances they had, but also Everton had the chances we had, so it could have gone the other way as well. Maybe it is just a bit unlucky, maybe it was just one of them nights, but I can appreciate that. If DYCHE should have put, Damari Gray and Ellis Sims on with 20 minutes to go, then and this game would have finished 2-2. I'd have sat here and gone, do you know what? He went for it. He showed a bit of bravery. We didn't win. We got a point. It was one of them games that could have gone either way. It's still not enough, but it was an improvement on what we watched, at the weekend. On Thursday. But he didn't. And it just feels like a missed opportunity. It just feels like... It feels like the manager was happy with the point there, and I'd really love to be sat in that press conference with Sean Dyche, in a moment or tomorrow or whenever it is, and say to him, did you feel like a point was good enough tonight? And if he says no, I'd say, well, why didn't you make a change? If he says yes, I'd say, well, if you think a point's good enough, where are the other points coming from? Because I just don't see it. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me, I don't see it. And yes, Jordan Pickford, kept us in the game with a fantastic penalty save. And yes, maybe the manager was thinking, oh my God, this could go either way here, so let's be a bit pragmatic about it. But, let's not forget Leicester City's goalkeeper has just had the game of his life. Absolute game of his life. One thing you cannot argue with is that Sean Dyche isn't picking the best players in the best positions. Because nobody can sit there and tell me that Michael Keane's a better defender than Yerry Mina. Simple as that. And for those saying, what's that got to do with anything? Michael Keane gave away a penalty tonight, which could have quite frankly seen the game done and dusted by half-time. He then decided to point at his arm and say, that's where it hit me, even though he pointed at what would have been a blatant penalty anyway. And he was all over the gaff, absolutely all over the gaff. He was at fault for the first goal, he was nowhere to be seen, and the one where Vardy hit the bar, he was absolutely ripped inside out. Now, I'm not saying if Mina starts, we win that game 100%. I'm not saying if Dyche brings Gray on, we go on and get a winner. But what I'm saying is, he doesn't help himself, does he, the manager? He really, really doesn't help himself. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that's good enough. And I'm sorry if it's negative, and I'm sorry if you're thinking, oh, you're just negative. It felt very much Sunday League-y, that, didn't it, that game? It felt very much like watching a Sunday League derby where, defenders just go out the window. It's just pure attack. And, both goalkeepers have a decent game. Both defenders are nowhere to be seen, etc., etc. Lucian says Leeds have a more hard schedule than us. They do, but again, I'll say the same as I said at this time last season. It's not just one team that goes down. 3 teams go down. Leeds could go down this season. Southampton could go down this season. But Everton could also go down with them because 3 teams go down. Yeah. Again, I don't really fault the players tonight. I thought they worked hard. I thought they put themselves about. Again, people that sit here and go, we fault a woe because he gave the goal away. These players are just thick. Let's have it right. These players are not very intelligent footballers. They're not. The decisions they make on the pitch shows that. The lack of ideas shows that. Most of these footballers just aren't very intelligent players. And when Iwobi makes a mistake like that, what's the point of me sitting here screaming, shouting? Because he's clearly got talent, because he showed that in the second half. He scored a fantastic equaliser. But that mistake was just a clear lack of just any real football and brain. And a lot of these players are in that same bracket. They lack football and brain. I don't really, again, I thought they worked hard today. I thought they battled. I thought they give everything. But I just think it's a missed chance. And I just think, had the manager showed a bit of bravery, then it may have been a different outcome. It might not have been, but who knows? We will never be able to know, will we? Yeah, there you go. As I said, for me, I'm not particularly bothered. It's my opinion. People can have a different opinion. I just don't think the manager's the one. I really, really don't. Again, he will be the manager until the end of the season, and we'll see what happens. And if he keeps us up, I'll remain with the same thought process. I don't see what he's trying to do. And, Michael Keane will be the hill that Sean Dyche sees us all off on, I fear. Yeah. There you go. Maureen says Sean is at least positive. I don't even have to read the rest of that comment, and I know that's wrong because he's not positive, because he could have made positive changes tonight and he didn't. Simple as that. Yeah, there you go. Big thanks for watching. If you have enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Play ratings is going to be tomorrow because I've got to drive home. So, yeah, that'll be tomorrow. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you later.